That's what we need. Now, this is your concept drawing for Beetlejuice's office.
Yes, which again was I'd never really changed my original little doodle to this. It was like it was sort of
Do I have that?
like Gary again Ross
Yeah,
meets.
I do have that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. So that was my first notebook sketch, and then Thomas and I worked it up into the sort of 3D render, and then it turned into the physical set. Um, but
Mhm.
it was yeah. I mean, I say it didn't really alter, and it just wanted this sort of. I mean, it was always billed as the boiler room, but I melded the idea of it being a real boiler room with the Glengarry Glen Ross sort of high pressure sales environment. Um,
What was your influence for having these big air or the air filter like vents? These
yes. I don't. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes when you read things, your brain just goes down those avenues. And I've always had a thing for vents and ducts, and I wanted it to have this heavy, oppressive sort of. One of the things I pulled out of watching the original movie over and over again was actually there's a lot of sort of cave pieces that sort of loom into the background of shots, certainly in
Hmm.
those big sort of wide paintings. So I wanted to bring that in as part of that world of the sort of oppressive cave elements in it. So actually that ceiling is, I mean, you can't see it really in that image, but it's quite big, heavy textured rock that's actually resting just on one piece of the walls, and the rest of it is all sort of cockling as if it's like a pan lid. And I just wanted all these pipes coming out and as if they were, you know, coming sort of through the gaps in the ceiling. So
Right.
it's I don't know, it's just again, sometimes when you doodle these ideas become prevalent and they definitely became prevalent.
But how awesome of a job to be like, I want it like when you have this freedom.
I
It's not
know.
that, I mean, you have constraints of
Yeah.
this is our world, this is our look, but you have this freedom to be able to be like, well, why wouldn't I'm thinking this and this is what it is, and this is
No,
like,
from my point of view, it was an absolute dream because you just can just imagine and you just draw and think, what, how can it be? And I mean, there was so lots of things thrown in the bin from my head, but in the end, you just want to try and push the limit. And I mean, the thing with all these sets, I was conscious I didn't want people to get bored of them, because you could just repeat yourself a lot in the underworld because it's that sort of, it's oh yes, it's a textured wall and it's a wonky floor and those are the yes, of course, those are the sort of bones of the rules. But then you had to try and make each room different and interesting and, you know, give it a whole its own individual spin. So you had, this room with the huge vents and those big sort of warped windows to the
yeah.
side, and then like Jackson's police precinct. I watched loads of 80s cop shows to sort of get to that and try and take an 80s cop show and it's like how would that work in the underworld and there you go. So you try and give each little set its own character, but apply all the rules that you've set up with the textured finishes and the warping and the distorting and everything else.
I love the blinds. The the blinds for like a cop, like 2-inch metal blinds for cop show.
Yeah.
Done. Like
Well, you say that, but it gave my decorating team, my prop team, such a hard time because the windows are all over the place and they don't
oh,
hang properly. So they all had to be cut and custom pinned.
oh,
So like three prop men spent days pinning them all because the walls actually angled
oh,
forward.
so it would bow out.
And it's a distorted window and it's a distorted top, so they don't hang properly. So they were all had to be custom cut and made, and they had wires rather than string in them, so they didn't bow. And
Oh, see that? Everything's a nightmare for Set Deck.
I was not popular when they were doing those.
I love that you put Beetlejuice like up a little higher. He's the
Yeah,
manager. He's got to be up looking down at all the people. And then that beautiful the windows behind the glass behind him, the texture and everything. And
yeah, I
all the
know. It was so much fun, and you could just. I mean, I think you never want to overdo it, and I think that's very much Tim as well. He's not one to just chuck every trick at it all. So I think once you had your hooks, that was it. But still, it was fun to just get into the details and go wild. And certainly that set was a lot of fun. And just the dressing, that image with the different phones and everything.
yeah.
It was the first Underworld set we did, and we sort of overdressed that table, almost expecting that Tim and Michael would come in and sort of choose some bits they liked, and take some bits away, and of course everything stayed.
That's a
So
win. That's a
it
win.
was a total win. It was a total win. Right down to the red bat phone under the cake cloche that we'd put under there as a little nod to Batman, which stayed on as well. So,
Perfect. Perfect. That detail shot made me so happy. Um, but all of the layering in the underworld too, and that constant thought of like these people have been here for like millenniums and like thousands of
it's far too much fun when you get into all that. I mean,
yeah,
the
the
graphics team
layering.
and the decorators had just had such fun, and we'd regularly just laugh and laugh and laugh as we were dressing it and just getting sillier, have a great idea and then you'd run up and we should do this and come back with some, ridiculous murder file that no one was ever going to see. But it was,
I you had a rendering picture of his office there, and it was like Lethal Weapon posters
oh
and
yes.
like like he loved old cop movies and like
No, the
it was
posters are brilliant.
fantastic. Willem Dafoe was fantastic.
Those three film posters that are up there. The graphics team did about 8 or 9 of those. They're all Frank Hardballer's sort of greatest movies, and they were just hilarious. Tim literally couldn't choose ones to have the hero one because they were just so funny. They're all We did this great photo shoot with him in this long black leather trench coat and Willem Dafoe putting all these crazy poses. It was just hilarious.
Oh, he's great. I love him.
No,
He's
he's very awesome, and he was very, he was very cool as well on set. He was just
oh,
genuinely decent bloke, you could tell.